we're going to kind of go around and make sure that each of you gets kind of outroed and tell people where they can find you at the end of this. So can we start with Megan this time?
Sure. I'm Dr. Megan Connell. I'm a psychologist in practice in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also the co-founder of Geeks Like Us, where I do a lot of geeky cool things, including I'm the dungeon master for a live stream game called Clinical Role, where all of my players are other psychologists and therapeutic dungeon masters. I also host a series called Psychology at the Table. I'm the host of a podcast called Brain Noodles. I write, I do a lot of things. Most of it through Geeks Like Us, though. But you can always follow me on Twitter at MeganSide to find out the different things that I do or my random thoughts on whatever is going on in my life.
I'm Matthew Lillard. You can find me at Matthew Lillard Side D. I am. No, I'm not Matthew Lillard. You can find me on on Instagram and on Twitter at Matthew Lillard. I'm co-founder of Beadle and Grimm's. I'm an actor, and I want to be Megan. I want a side D behind my name.
Well, if you go to the 24th grade.
God dang it! I only got through 12, Megan.
And then I'm Fenway Jones, Fenway the Teen DM, founder of Jasper's Game Day. You can find us at jaspersgameday.com or on me on Twitter at Fenway Teen DM. Thank you so much.
By the way, what are you going to do when you turn 20?
Well, I'm going to be actually, hopefully, we haven't announced it just yet, but hopefully when I turn 18, we're going to start a program to choose a new teen DM. And then,
that's good.
Yes, so then I will become something else when I turn 20. Fenway, the young adult DM. No, that's it's in workshop.
And there's no, the failing is the only way to learn and to get better. And that's a really hard thing to sort of articulate. Those are squirrels that are now tormenting the dogs on the fence. So it's going to be this way for a second, and I'll put myself on mute.
Not a big deal. I think we all get squirrels sometimes.
Yes. At my work the other day, a squirrel ran by the window and it literally distracted me from the middle of my thoughts. It's literal squirrel. Shoot, therapy.
Yes. Okay, we can move on to the next question then. So I think kind of piggybacking off of the same question, is kind of what makes gaming specifically helpful when working with mental health then? Not necessarily the connection side of it, but more the mental health side of it.
Definitely. There's a lot. The thing that I think I see as the biggest agent of change in therapeutic gaming, specifically tabletop role-playing games, is this concept of avatarism. So having the character that is your proxy in the game. Because a lot of times when people are in therapy or in group therapy or things, there's a lot of feeling kind of attacked or singled out. It's like, you're telling me I'm not good or I'm not doing things correctly. And so as soon as that happens, all of our natural defenses pop right up and we're like, no, I am good. I am okay. Please don't make me change, because change is the hardest thing a human can do. But when we're playing a game, it's not me, the person, it's my character. And so if my character's making a mistake, your defenses don't come in as much. You can kind of have that emotional separation from it. You could see it through that outside perspective. And that's a really cool thing. Dr. Sarah Bowman has done a lot of research on this, and she talks about the concept of bleed. I wish we had a different term for it, but that's what it's called. It's bleed in versus bleed out. So when you bleed in, it's your own personal emotional experiences influencing how the character is engaging in the story. It's not metagaming. It's more of I call it emotional permeability, that your emotions kind of seep into the characters, but then also the characters seep back out to you as well. So this is why when Matt was talking about with the stories, right? It's not, do you remember that time our characters went across that bridge and then fought those trolls and then saved everybody from the goblin raids? It's like, no, it's like, do you remember that time when we went across that bridge and we fought the trolls? And like, it's all that stuff inside of our heads of like, yeah, that's cool. And then like the failures feel a little bit more distant though. So even though like the successes feel like us, we can kind of separate from the failures. And like he was saying too with learning, right? We learn from failure. And so seeing something happen to our characters where things didn't go well for them and they screwed up, we could start to go, wow, that was a really big failure for that character. And I kind of do that stuff sometimes too. And maybe that's not going to work out so well for me. And so that seems to be one of the really big agents of change that we see and why this works so well for therapy.
That is good. I like that. Bleeding. I like that. I mean, look, I think I mean, you make a mistake as a character, you rally beyond it. You do, look, in the idea of like right and wrong and vanquishing evil and rising up and as a DM, especially when you're DMing kids, the ability to sort of lift those moments, to give inspiration, to celebrate in game what a character does that's heroic. I mean, that is just reinforcing the idea, these noble concepts of like doing good in the world. I mean, the more I play Dungeons and Dragons, I mean, I think that the man I am is defined by the way I game, right? Is that I believe that being a great person, I believe in being honorable and full of justice and like, and being a strong human being, right? And I think that all those things are reinforced in a game that I've spent my entire life playing. And I just think that is I don't think it's a mistake, right? Is that when your life is being bolstered by these pillars of character, it can do nothing but bleed into your life, bleeding in, right?
Yep, most definitely. And like the other cool thing too, and you're hitting on this as well, is empathy, right? Like literally walking miles into another character's shoes and another person's shoes, it can't help but change us, right? And so D&D really seems to be an empathy building machine. And like a whole slew of studies have just started getting published recently on the psych world of talking about like the importance of empathy and say like, to paraphrase the studies in words that they don't use, which essentially empathy makes you a better human. Like you are a more likable human, you tend to overcome adversity better, you have more people around you to support you. And all these good things come from empathy, but then there's that challenge of how do we teach empathy? Well, all of us gamers know, pick up some dice and tell a story.
Right. It's good.
Well, this part of the episode, we're going to start with a question from Matt. So how have you seen the gaming industry and community reacting to the pandemic, mental health wise or otherwise?
It's a good question. Look, I think that first of all, I want to say that one of the great things for me, I've never really been a joiner. And the way that my friends and I played Dungeons and Dragons was very insular. I mean, we played by ourselves. We have played together since we were kids. We don't seek out community. I mean, we're all, 50 years old plus and sort of are grown men, and it just wasn't really in our lexicon, the idea of community in the Dungeons and Dragons world. And so when we started this company, we became, we were introduced to the community at large. And I want to say that personally, I am incredibly inspired by what I see in the Dungeons and Dragons community. I think it's an incredible place. And I'm not saying that as lip service. I actually think that what happens here is pretty amazing. And I wish it would mirror the rest of the world, because I do think that there's such inclusion, love, passion. There are people that care about a game that can express that care. The idea of people discussing mental illness or LGBTQ rights, or it's just an open and diverse community that's inclusive. And I just think it's an inspiration. With that said, I think that everyone in the world is suffering through this moment. And I think that as much as we can still go to Starbucks we have to keep keeping it in perspective of what we're surviving right now. And it's unprecedented and it's terrifying and people are really struggling to survive. And it's this weird dichotomy, right? I mean, half of America right now literally will not wear a mask. So like, you know, and our numbers are spiking as we record this. And so like the world is in a really funky place. And so what I see in the gaming community right now are people surviving and reaching for a game that helps them get through this horrific time. And that's what it is. It's really it's awful what's happening in the world. And I think that RPGs and being online and in these boxes is exhausting and tough and all of that. But I still think that people are seeking that connection however they can find it and are doing better than I think than other people who aren't doing this, right? If you're an athlete, like my kid's an athlete and he plays sports and he doesn't have that right now. And so what we do have as the gaming community is we have each other and are finding new ways to connect. I mean, I work with Vorpal board now. Nice. And that asset is an amazing way to bring a game together. I mean, it's, you know, and I think that people are doing better than most other subsets of the world. That was the longest answer ever. I'm sorry. No, I talk too much. I know. Fenway, I'm sorry. You have to, at some point you should have to mute or have a clock running down.
Hot clock.
we're just getting all of the opinions and I appreciate it so much. Megan, do you have any ideas on that?
Yeah, I think, you know, Matt kind of hit the nail on the head. Like we as gamers, like one of the things that I think is so valuable of a skill set is like we know how to connect with each other. And like even though like the bane of every gaming group's existence is scheduling, in a lot of ways the pandemic sort of helped with that because it freed up our schedules a lot for a lot of things. And so suddenly we could have more game nights, we could meet with people more. Like my stream game, we were starting to run into a problem of everybody's traveling to conventions so much, it was getting really hard for us to keep it up. But because nobody can travel this year, we've actually gotten to play more than we do normally. And like also playing has become so much more to us because, you know, a few of my players work together, but they don't actually see each other now. And so this is the time where we can actually connect and see each other and joke around and laugh and remember that there is still good stuff. And even if we can't, you know, go into Starbucks without a mask, at least our characters can go to Starbuccaneers and bother the sirens for a better mochaccino. Like, because that's the thing in our game.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, that.
Wait, what grade are you in?
Difficult question. Technically, I'm a senior, but I don't take any classes at high school. I just do college classes.
Oh, right on. Oh, good.
Yeah. So I'm that like weird kid that doesn't actually attend high school, but still is technically a senior.
Copy that. And do you have friends in high school?
I do.
Yeah.
Most of my friends graduated last year, but I do still have some friends in the high school now.
And is there anyone going to class in school in your high school?
Yeah, our high school is doing, most kids have in-person classes.
Okay. And you're not going?
No. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stay home for this year because I don't want to deal with having to, one, having to wear a mask in school, two, not having people not wear masks even when they're supposed to, and three, having that much of an exposure rate.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. No, it's kind of my life. A bit of a looking into my school life there.
Yeah. Anyway, where do you want to go to college?
Right now I'm looking at CMU, Central Michigan University. They have a fantastic sociology and psychology program.
There you go. Megan, she's going to have a PSD.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, it's good. So kind of along that idea, what do you think, Megan, some ways that guardians or parents can use gaming kind of in this pandemic, with the bettering of the mental health of the people around them, of their kids, of themselves?
So much. Like i- Here's one of the things that I have held this belief about American culture for a while, that we are very overscheduled.
Hmm.
And I think the pandemic has really shone a light on that, where suddenly everything that we were all booked to do just got canceled. And all of a sudden we had downtime and time to be bored again. And it's been really hard for a lot of people. And like, um, trying to find ways to fill that time that aren't just plugging into Netflix nonstop. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Netflix. There's great stuff on there, but like after a while, you do need to get up and do something else. And so, gaming, I think, is a wonderful way to connect with each other and to have this kind of shared activity and shared experience. And there's a lot of fun that you can have. Because like I said, we can't go out to places, but we can in a game, and we can, like there's a lot of phenomenal games outside of D&D or Pathfinder and other tabletop role-playing games that take hours to play, and so oftentimes don't get played. But like now we have the time to do that, so let's do that and let's enjoy it.
Absolutely. I agree. um, yeah. So kind of back to Matt, is there a way that you have seen positive impacts when it comes to your company and products, with other people's mental health or the connection of people?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that there, yeah, I mean, yes, there are, can, I mean, I feel like, look, we do a lot with, we give a lot of boxes. I mean, we try to find people in need. I mean, we try to people that are having, and again, anyone hearing this can reach out to us. If you've got an event, especially if it's about charity, reach out to us. If you are a military, if you're somebody in the military serving, reach out to us because we offer discounts. I think that, one of the things that we did is that we sat with Dr. B and Take This, who is their organization works on and mental health awareness in the gaming community specifically, and does a lot of work at cons. And so we had seen each other at conventions and sort of ships passing in the night, as you do at these conventions. And at some point it was like, hey, let's grab a beer and get to know each other. And he invited us to sit down. It was me and Justice, who works for the company, and Bill is one of the other founders. Sat with him, and he ran us in a mental health one shot. And you went into a psyche with a girl that was suicidal, and it was an amazing night. And I just lost my cousin's daughter. I just passed because of suicide. So I had an incredible experience sitting at that table, and was moved by the work he's doing in the world. And so we stood up and I said, we're going to build something for you just to support you. And so we actually created the Take This Shield of Faith, which we sell online at beadlegrimps.com. And every single dollar of that goes to Take This and the work they're doing in the community. So, I mean, for us, because we're 5 people that have other jobs, we've never taken $1 out of the company. That everything goes back into the company, and the company's doing really well. It's growing exponentially. And so when we find something that we're moved by, we'll engage. In fact, you had asked us to sponsor, Fenway's game day, or Jasper's game day, or what are we sponsoring? We're in for the sponsor. Everyone's yes, and everyone said yes. So I didn't respond to the email because I'm very flaky when it comes to email. But we're in, and we want to sponsor you, and we want to help raise your message and support you. So we're in for that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. But look, that's sort of the joy of the company for me, because the ability to sort of spread joy, to continue to build stuff that we think is cool and have an effect on people, is the reason we're doing it, right? I mean, we're not out here to make money. I mean, we are, but we're here to build a brand, to build a company, to build something that we love and we take pride in. But we don't have to grow exponentially every year. We sort of have a passion project that we all spend way too many hours a week doing. But but it allows us to do things like support you or create the take this pin or something like that. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I think that it's amazing. I've seen the take this pin on Beadle and Grimm's website. I haven't picked it up yet, but my dad just got the Icewind Dale Platinum Edition stuff.
Oh, he did?
He
Oh,
did.
nice.
It was amazing, and I was super excited about it and jealous. And he was like, "No, you don't get any of this stuff." And I was like, "Well, I'm taking the Yeti." So that was that experience.
Yeah, good.
Yes, but it's great. You make great products.
Thanks. It's really, I have to say that our guiding mission is to create things we love. It's a pretty great, ability for us to do it because it's a privilege, because, we've sort of built the company out of passion and are continuing to follow that goal.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. It's kind of a similar thing with Jasper's. Came out of passion and came out of desire to make the world a better place.
Yeah. So will you talk about that real quick? So in case anyone may not know who's watching this, who may have tuned in to see Megan, can you talk a little about Jasper's Game Day?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jasper's Game Day is the nonprofit organization that I founded. We raise money through gaming for suicide prevention and awareness. I started it 3 years ago when I lost two friends to suicide within the span of a few months. And I wanted to be able to use the heartache, the pain that I was feeling to create love and hope and happiness in the world for people who are going through the same loss or the same suicidal ideation. And that's our goal here. We raise money through different gaming events, and support local crisis centers and crisis centers across the U.S., Canada, and other places around the world.
It's awesome.
You
It's
do
inspiration.
awesome work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing something right when, like, I remember at GameholeCon, it might have been last year, when a bunch of us like got super duper excited that you were gonna come over and hang out with all of us. And we're kind of like, are we fangirling over someone in high school a little bit? But like, we're also impressed with like what you've done and what you've organized with Jasper's. Like, I think one of my favorite DMing experiences was getting to run a Turtle Trouble for a Jasper's Game Day event, which is an amazing module. If you haven't checked it out, like, I think you can probably get it on the DMs Guild.
Mm-hmm. There's it's the Jasper's Game Day CCCs. Yeah, those are great.
That one is a great.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, so the next question is actually for you, Megan, kind of about your work. So what does your therapy with kids and teens look like on a day-to-day basis? Do you use gaming often, not as often as you like? How does that work for you?
So for my individual clients, I used to game a lot more with them, but we don't anymore, mostly because of the pandemic. Because I have I have a problem with having too many board games. I have a ton of board games in my office.
This has come up in 2 pods in a row.
Yeah, I know it's a problem. I'm aware. Acknowledging the problem is the first step. Then deciding if I really want to do something about it is the next part. No, before the pandemic, like sitting and playing games with my clients was one of my favorite things to do. Because it was for some clients, it was a great way to reward them for having done really hard work. Because I push people in therapy. I try to really get them better. And so sometimes the work that they do is really hard and monumental. It's the equivalent of climbing a mountain in a week. And when they do that, sometimes it's like, cool, let's reward you. Let's play a game. Let's just kind of chill out. And as we're playing, we'll talk through what it was like or whatever. Since COVID, though, I don't want all of us touching the same things, even though we know it's more air transmitted, but so it's decreased a bit. I'm still running my therapeutic D&D games though. And you asked the question of like, how often are you gaming? How often aren't you? Like, it's that thing of like trying to figure out how many spell slots you got to do things. because jamming certainly takes up a number of your spell slots. I also use a system of collaborative homebrew with all of my therapy games that was developed by the guys, Adam and Adam from Game to Grow. And it's a really, I highly recommend it. If you can watch their talk from, I think it was PAX 2018, they talked about this system, but it's you badly draw a map, then you have all of the players add a terrain feature or two to the map. Then you go through, you label everything, and then you come up with the rumors for the map you just made, and that becomes your adventure that you play for the next few weeks. So it's really cool because all the players are super bought into what you're doing because they helped come up with it. But it does create the challenge then that every game you're running is in a different world, doing different quests with different bad guys and different good. And so like trying to keep all that stuff in your head and keep that all organized can be a little bit of a challenge. And then just like logistics of getting enough people in the groups and things. I think for me, the sweet spot is about 3 to 4 games a week to run. Maybe that could be increased at some point if I could streamline my DMing style a little bit more, but I don't know. But it's just such a phenomenal tool just to see people blossom. And like, what's really interesting is a lot of times when I'm running games, and sometimes I have to, when I'm running therapeutic games, one of the questions I ethically have to ask myself is like, is this the same as just playing a game? Or are they actually getting more out of this because I am tweaking things and pushing some therapeutic themes? And it seems like every time I've kind of thought like, I don't think this is doing more than just playing D&D for these people, which is fine. That's fun, but that's not therapy. And so therefore you can't call it therapy. I'll have one of the players come to me after and be like, oh my gosh, this has outlined this issue so much for me, or shown me that like we are actually, even though I could sometimes still feel like I'm not doing therapy, it still can be. So it's really cool.
That's good. Not only that, but it creates a trust between you and your patient, right? I mean, the ability to not have every moment be about, climbing your mountain.
Yeah.
Allows there to be like a celebration of the success and a trust thing that goes on. I think that sounds super powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really important that we have to have those moments to breathe and to celebrate and to relax. Like if we're not celebrating successes, if it's always just like, okay, cool, you achieved this really hard goal. Now let's work on the next harder goal.
Right.
Like, that's no fun.
Burn out. Like who can do that? Yeah. Kids can't do that. Would it work with adults? Do you do it with adults?
Yeah, actually, the game I was just thinking about was an adult game. It was one of my clients who's an adult and is in an adult game was talking about something, and they were mentioning, I'm like, this sounds a lot like something your character's going through. And they're like, yeah, I didn't realize I needed to work on it till I was seeing my character having to deal with this. It's like, okay, yes, this is very helpful with adults too.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm hoping to run games for veterans soon. Like I was in the Army for 7 years, and then did the reserves for a little while after. And so like, I really want to run groups for vets as well. Because I think.
Wait a sec. You were in the Army and you got your PYSCD thingy?
Yes.
Oh
yes.
my God. What am I doing with my life?
A lot.
I did a movie with a dog that wasn't there and you've done all that. That's crazy. Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you for the support.
Yeah. That's a lot. Did you do the GI Bill afterwards, or did you get
actually, I did it preemptively. So I was in graduate school for psychology, and I got something called the Health Professional Scholarship Program, which paid for the last 2 years of my doctoral training. So then I had to serve 4 years licensed in the Army, and then I did another couple of years to get a little bit more of my student loans paid back. So it's a really good program.
That's awesome. I will tell you, my favorite thing in the world is to do USO tours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the best.
They're very appreciated.
It's the best thing as a quote unquote celebrity that I get in the world. Is to travel the world and say thank you to troops everywhere. I mean, I've been to Afghanistan, Kuwait, everywhere around the Middle East, North Africa. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you for doing those. Those mean a lot when you're deployed. Like,
yeah, and I don't think I understood how much it meant. I was like, oh wait, I'm going where? I'll never forget. I was in the back of a van, Trouble with the Curve with Robert Patrick, who played the T-1000, and he had a USO tag on his bag. And I was like, what USO? What is that? Isn't that like from World War II or Vietnam, like Bob Hope? He's like, we still do them. You can come if you want. And I was like, I'd love that. And he, sure enough, like a month later, I get a call from the military saying, do you want to do this? And I was like, absolutely. And I did my first tour was to Kuwait and through the Middle East, Bahrain and Qatar, and they were like 90% of the people that get asked to go don't go because like you have to like leave, and all of a sudden now you're going to the Middle East and you have to take all these training sessions in case you're in combat. I mean, it's really intense. But then you get out there and you see what happens to the people when you're like, you know, I was in Djibouti, Africa at 5 a.m. landing and going to say hi to troops, and like, what are you doing in Djibouti, Africa? I'm like, I'm here to say thank you to you. And they're like, you know, it changes their day, it changes their lives in a really, like, they have something to hold on to, they have something to look forward to. It changes the dynamic of like for months. It's awesome.
It really does. And even after you all leave, like it's a big thing. Like when I went to Iraq, Robin Williams had just done a USO tour, and people were still talking about it. And like what was sort of funny was he actually ended up changing policy on the base, because at night we were supposed to wear our running belts or reflective belts, and he was calling his escorts like his overly armored crossing guards because of the reflective belts. And their commander didn't like that, so that said like stop wearing the reflective belts at night.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Which we were all very thankful for.
Yeah. It's amazing how many people go out and sort of and do those tours and the impact they have. Really cool. I mean, I'm not saying I'm one of those people, but like Drew Brees is somebody that changes people. I mean, you know, I'm in my office, and this is like, you know, my challenge coins from all over the world.
Oh my gosh.
You get these coins that are like,
you have a better collection than me. I think I've got 5.
Well, every time I sit with the master sergeant and the commanding officer, and all of a sudden you get a coin and you're like, oh, okay, thank you. Anyway, sorry, we digress. And by the way, those are men and women that love to game, which I was so surprised at. We were in Niger last year, and the guys were like, D&D game tonight. You want to come? I'm like, I can't come tonight, but I'll come. You know, I'm leaving, but I would love to. But you know, every base has like that group of guys that will get together because 90% of your time is bored. You're bored.
Yeah. Now, board gaming was one of the big things that helped us get through the deployment and all the downtime. Because when I was there, we were shutting everything down. So like we came and like there were all these amenities. It was really nice. And then like as the months went on, everything shut down and we're just eating MREs all the time.
Oh God, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Anyway, sorry, we digress, Fenway.
Sorry, Fenway, we're off.
We're back. We're back. We tried to throw some gaming in there. You see how we did that at the end?
Yes. No, I definitely, I've talked with some veterans. We did an event for specifically for veteran suicide prevention back in March, and through that I got to talk to some veterans who use D&D as their their therapy during their deployments. I hadn't been very versed in the veteran world, as my grandpa was a veteran, but that's the only experience that I had with it beforehand, before starting all of the Jasper stuff. And it was just like humbling, amazing. It was fantastic.
That's cool.
It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of all the questions that I had for you guys. Is there anything else that either of you would like to add about anything we've talked about or anything else?
I'll give a few recommendations of family games. So like I was holding this up earlier this is great for the people who are just listening, but like there's lots of different role-playing games out here. What I'm holding up right now is this Tales of Equestria. So it's the My Little Pony role-playing game that my younger kids love playing because they love My Little Pony, and they are both Pegasus, and we're going on adventures. Also, a fabulous person in the community, BJ Hemsley. She has a company called Playground Adventures, And so this is their most popular one. It's called Pixies on Parade. But it's a great intro to D&D for families and kids. And like, I think there's like a teddy bear monster or something that you have to fight in here. So she's got some really cool products, though. She actually has some too that I believe help teach like science and stuff through gaming. And so like if you're looking for an age appropriate kind of module to run through D&D, check out Playground Adventures. And then just a couple other too, like Monty Cook's No Thank You Evil. This one's a great one. It's got a scalable rule system for as your kids get older and can handle more complicated rules. But like also a company called Haba. They make a lot of just awesome family games, especially for younger kids. When I was mentioning my kids were playing with the games that they've outgrown, those are their Haba games. They start at age 2 and go up, and they're phenomenal games. So highly recommend those. And then just a silly one that I found at PAX Unplugged last year's Dinosaur Tea Party. This is as a kid's game, but I recommend it for everybody. This is Clue, but you are dinosaurs having a tea party. Or not Clue, sorry. Guess Who? Guess Who? Dinosaurs at a tea party.
That is hilarious.
It is very fun. This has been a fun one with my kids because it's teaching them how to ask questions and how to, do elimination and all of that kind of stuff. But the point of the game is you have to phrase things like kind of like you're at a proper tea party. So it's like, do you wear glasses? Oh, no. My sight is fine.
Do you, Fenway, do you go to conventions when conventions are happening?
Yeah, I go to quite a few conventions. We do, so Jasper's itself does Origins, Winter Fantasy, Gen Con, and then a couple of other conventions around where we like to go to the conventions that invite us there. And then we do Game Hole, and Gary Con is just like my personal downtime conventions.
Oh, that's good. I was supposed to go to Gary Con this last year, and because of obviously COVID, I couldn't make it. But
same.
I hope to get back. I'd like to get back to cons. I like cons. Because I do think that there's a world in which, and I think that, I think Matt, quite frankly, Matt Mercer gets it. I think the Critical Role crew gets it, which is this idea of connectivity, the idea of being able to affect people's lives in very clear ways. And for me, being at a con, like you can see a kid that's struggling, you can see LGBTQ, you can see somebody dealing with addiction, like you can see it written on their face, and all of a sudden they come over and they're like a fan of Scooby-Doo, and you can hug them and sort of transact and save somebody's life and or affect change in their life in a way that's super powerful. And so I for me, being at a convention is great. I mean, I think that, the connectivity and being able to, and see people and make an impact is really awesome at a con, which I'm sure, Fen, that you have that. I mean, your ability to sort of like, as you grow in stature in this community, people are going to look up to you. I mean, that's a lot of pressure for a teenager, but I think that what you're doing and your mission statement and how you're growing it is fantastic. And I know if I was your father, I'd be super proud of the young woman you are, because it's awesome. And hearing the way you talk about it, the way you present the game and the work you're doing and your goals in life, I think that you're just a great human being.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Megan, I have a lot of problems with you. I mean, let's talk. So this is my new thing, you guys. I just got a thing. Yeah. You have one too. I was like,
I got the thing too. Obviously I'm not as good with you. Mine was in shot the whole time. I don't know.
I'm super excited about it. I feel super pro. So we hit video. So stupid, I know.
No, it's great. It's great. Well, that's, like I said, that's all the questions I had for you. It's been fantastic having both of you on here today. We're going to do some outros real quick, kind of some conclusion stuff. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who watched. Remember, 1, you are not a critical failure. 2, you do not have to roll initiative alone. And 3, every roll matters. So remember those. Remember to reach out if you ever need help. It's okay not to be okay. And just thank you for watching this today. Megan, do you want to start the outros today?
Sure. I'm Dr. Megan. I am a psychologist in practice in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also the co-founder of Geeks Like Us, where I host Psychology at the Table, and I'm the Dungeon Master for Clinical Role, a live play D&D game where all of my players are other therapeutic dungeon masters and psychologists, and I'm the host of Brain Noodles podcast.
And you're just awesome with a bunch of letters after your name.
All the letters.
U.S. Army vet, badass. With your pink headphones, don't let it. I'm also a ninja. My name's Megan. My name's Matthew Lillard. I'm Matthew Lillard pretty much everywhere. And I am one of the founders of Beadle and Grims. You can go to beadleandgrims.com. We make boxed editions of Dungeons and Dragons Adventures. And we have all kinds of fun props. I usually play with stuff as we, like this is the thing that just came out in our Icewind Dale box.
That's cool.
But you can find me there. It's been an honor and a privilege to be here today. Thank you so much. And we are eternally in your corner, and we got your back no matter what.
Thank you very much, Matt.
And now the dog's going crazy. Oh my gosh.
It's all good. It's all good. And I am Fenway Jones, the teen DM, founder of Jasper's Game Day, which is the YouTube channel you are on. And it's amazing to have everyone here that we have had. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. Make sure you check out jaspersgameday.com and our store for everything that we have going on. All right. See you guys next time.